George Jones and Tammy Wynette weren't just country music's biggest stars. They were the genre's ultimate power couple. Fans believed their love story would last forever. Instead, it became one of country music's greatest heartbreaks. Hi, everybody. This is David with Country Music Spotlight. When George and Tammy married on February 16, 1969, country music had never seen anything quite like them. Individually, they were already major stars. Together, they seemed unstoppable. Their duets like Take Me, We're Gonna Hold On, Golden Ring, and Near You weren't just hit records. They reflected a chemistry that listeners believed was completely real. In many ways, it was. But behind the scenes, their marriage was being tested by George's growing battle with alcoholism. Friends and family watched as drinking led to missed concerts, missed recording sessions, and days when George would simply disappear. Tammy loved George deeply, but living with addiction became increasingly difficult. One story has become part of country music legend. Hoping to keep George from going out for alcohol, Tammy reportedly hid the keys to his car. George's solution? He climbed onto a riding lawnmower and drove it several miles into town to buy liquor. As unbelievable as it sounds, George later acknowledged the story, and it has become one of the most famous tales in country music history. By 1973, Tammy had reached her breaking point and filed for divorce, but she later admitted she hoped the filing would convince George to change. For a while, it seemed to work. The couple reconciled and recorded We're Gonna Hold On, another #1 hit that seemed to symbolize a fresh start. Sadly, the reconciliation didn't last. George's struggles with alcohol continued, and Tammy later said she never knew if he would come home, or what condition he would be in when he did. After another difficult period, she filed for divorce again. Their marriage officially ended in January 1975. Years later, Tammy offered a heartbreaking explanation for why the marriage failed. She said George was someone who seemed unable to accept happiness for very long, and that his self-destructive behavior eventually damaged both of them. Not every story about their marriage is agreed upon. Tammy wrote in her autobiography that George once chased her with a shotgun during an argument. George strongly denied that allegation in his own autobiography, admitting to many mistakes during those years, but insisting that particular incident never happened. Because of those conflicting accounts, historians continue to present it as an unresolved claim, rather than an established fact. Ironically, after the divorce, they found a way to work together again. They continued recording some of the greatest duets of their careers, including Golden Ring and Near You. On stage, the emotion between them was unmistakable because audiences knew the songs reflected real life. Perhaps the saddest part of the story is that both seemed to carry those feelings for years. George later admitted he never stopped loving Tammy and often regretted losing her. Their daughter, Georgette Jones, has said that Tammy also considered George the love of her life, despite everything that happened between them. Sometimes the greatest country songs come from real heartache, and perhaps no couple proved that more than George Jones and Tammy Wynette. This is David with Country Music Spotlight. Until next time, wishing you and yours the very best.
In a room with a flickering light, country music spotlight shine bright, showcasing tales of legends old, with heart and story